You want to take it?
With the walking part, huh?
With the
Oh, sure.
and then just being around all the others.
So here. Go to unput the leash. Alright, so I'm not going to worry about the obedience stuff right now. I'm just going to settle her down. Yeah. No, it's because I have the leash where it has control now.
Do you need the...
So, what she doesn't like is that I have the leash all the way up here.
Yeah.
Okay? So her response isn't out of the ordinary, especially when we have a dog that's not used to control. Yeah. Now I know you have the remote, right? This is a different kind of control.
Yeah.
Okay, this is physical control. So here, this is where the prong would help you out a lot.
Yeah.
Okay? So I have a slip leash, which allows me to place the leash high up and have the most immediate control over her. So you see how she's calmed down now? So, you know, dogs aren't meant to have things around their neck. You know, that's a human thing that we created so that we can have our dogs and walk them and they don't run away. So it's not uncommon, especially for puppies, to fuck around like that. Because they're like, what's this thing around my throat? So in that moment, everybody's instinct is always to stop or to like, you know, help the dog recover. And I just kept moving. Left. Well, we'll go, we'll go straight then left. So then, you know, it's 1 minute of her kind of panicking, going, what's going on? And then now she's settled, right? But now she's walking better than she was walking before. And you're using the e-pump, right? So, and it's because of how I use the tools. And here, like, I'm relaxed, right? There's no tension here. I'm not keeping it here because of how I use the tools. Okay, so for you, the prong collar would essentially act the same way as the slip leash. The problem is it takes a little bit more technical skill, but it's easy to learn. Okay, especially if you're using it in conjunction with speed calls. So the reason why I wouldn't recommend the slip leash is because this takes more technical skill than a prong collar, and you can risk choking out your dog. Okay, so here I'm nice and relaxed. Now she's actually starting to fall more in line with you. See that? And this is all happening because when she started panicking, I worked her through it, and I didn't allow her to win that situation, right?
So like working her through it, is that more just working her past the core?
Right, so like...
Or are you like, what are you doing to like correct it?
So there was corrections, but they're not the ones that you were thinking. Because she's panicking, okay? So I said I don't need the remote because if I use the remote, it's gonna make her panic more. Okay? So all I did was I took my leash and I shortened it really clean so that here, if I need to communicate with Maya, I'll just do a light little hug back in my hand. So this is pressure, that's pressure, but this pressure is different. Okay?
So you didn't have the phone call like I would be using the phone call for like directions for walking, and then it would be kind of like strong for corrections and then like
So when you put the prong on, you may not use it like this.
yeah.
Okay, because that's what everybody thinks. It's hard to process exactly that. It's subtle. And I see, how does that work? Maybe you end up using this, right? But we worked like we did with the e-collar. We started low, we did all these things, and we said what's going to work, right? Same thing with the prong collar. But the main thing that it would do for you is being able to control her right at the head.
Yeah.
Okay?
You want me to make a left?
Yep. So controlling her right at the head, because that's what gives you the most control. So in here, see like when I give her a little tight like touch, like this, and she like looks at me, because look, I'm communicating here. Much like the prong collar went. But you know, this how do you say, is more nuanced and detailed. So the prong is kind of there just in case you need some immediate control, or you need the subtle communication. You can see it, yes, once in the prong. So the boundary covering the foot.
There's another dog.
Good crap.
No, I didn't.
Chef Patella's. But all of it is because I already have it passive. See how like your ears are back and all that stuff. And we can take a rest break in that shady area. And so when I brought her over, right next to that dog. I didn't see it. Go a little bit further.
I actually saw
You can see her shade? Yep.
it sink like a brick in the water.
You know, when people see the other dog, they go into oh shit mode.
Yeah.
And I go into what do I need to do with this? To resolve the issue, you know? And the main thing was, instead of pressing the button, because I don't have an e-collar, I stayed some pressure on the leash, and then there was a quick little, and then she was done. Okay? So, moral of the story is, it can be done,
Yeah.
right? But, you know, your energy, how you present yourself to her, when you work with her and stuff like that, all those things are pieces to a bigger puzzle. Do you have a slip on you by chance? No? How'd you do with that surprise? Just fine? I didn't even see the dog until we were right there.
Oh my god, I saw it and I was like, imagine if that were us and 5 dogs were coming.
Yeah, there was a time the other week where I took Maya out early in the morning to like the big field by that statue.
Sure.
And I had her off leash, like there was no people around. Some other dog came running up to us to try and get her ball, but I was able to yell at her and use e-collar and she came running back to me because like
Good.
thankfully like she listened.
Right.
It was one of those like, oh shit, like
What's gonna
what do I
happen?
do?
Yeah, no, I've been there a couple of times. So with the leash here, you can make like a makeshift slip leash, I think. Is you put your what I like to do, I do it with the clip instead, is make a circle with the clip and then use that for your slip part.
Like that?
Yeah, the reason why I do the clip is because that's more likely to hold its, because if you do it through the handle, it'll work, but sometimes it becomes undone and the loop is too short, right? So using a clip like that, it tends to lock it better. Yours seems to be a little bit more loose fitting. So you could even, if you wanted in the meantime, you can make like a little knot, which will at least cap it to a point so it can't go past it.
So you put it around her and then
Yeah, and then see what you need.
Yeah, not at all.
The Ivy gets a little like intimidated by the brindle color.
Right. Yeah, so then you put a lock maybe here, so there's a little bit of give.
and the nose.
Yeah. Part of
The nose that he has, that gets in the head and like that. With the nose
And then you would use it the same way I do. Very important though that you keep it, and I would flip it over so that, is when you're walking with her, you want to have it a little bit shorter because when you let it go flat, the way this is set up, this is going to go.
Yeah.
Like try walking her with it.
yeah, my wife found like there's a previous video or something I brought to the back and we're like, oh, that's exactly what we need. Very fun.
And then just like you go up. So by you having it all the way up there, it's going to give you the most immediate.
I don't know.
Okay, with what your setup is. The prong would essentially give you the same thing, except you have the prongs as well, which gives you a bit more communication when you put pressure on it. Because right now it's just a blunt force, right? When used correctly and appropriately, it's very effective. But I've done this for 10 years, so I know the prong kind of gives you a margin for error. So you're not too worried about it by doing it this way.
She will be trying to pull me over there and sounding not very nice about it.
Woo! It's a hot one.
Ivy, so she is a rescue who was like pretty shy of mostly like adult males when we first got her.
Sure.
She's super adventurous, like loves sniffing everything.
Okay.
And she's a little bit resource guarding.
Okay.
Not so much with us, but like definitely with other dogs. Yeah, she was getting a treat in like February from somebody in the dog park, and they had their dog with them as well. She actually got fit. She was just receiving a treat, and since that time, her like aggressiveness towards other dogs has increased. Okay. So particularly with more threatening breeds. So I was actually surprised she was okay with the brindle dog, but like German Shepherds, Rhodesian Ridgeback,
sure.
Like if she sees them, she's actually now become like the aggressor, where she will violently bark and then like try to lunge at. And we haven't really had any instances, but we're trying to make sure that that doesn't happen. And since quarantine, it seems so exacerbated, not helped the problem.
Sure. So, do you mind if you put her on the slip?
I don't. We use a lot of different types of things at home. We've got the Easy Walk on her now. I've got Gentle Leader. I got the Pinch, which she's been trained on. So.
Okay. So she knows the prong color.
Yeah, she doesn't know a slip. That's the only thing we've never tried.
Okay. So the slip and the prong are very much similar, except the slip doesn't have the biting function that a prong does.
Right.
Okay. But your prong would be much better than what you have her set up on now. Okay. Out of everything that you've listed, it's the best tool that you have at your disposal at the moment. Okay?
Yep.
It's really probably the application of it. Who trained her on the prong?
We had some folks from another training group with us, and like I've used this prong before, so I think we know what we're doing on the prong.
Sure.
We're confident we do. So we have had some training to help with it.
Okay. Have you used it in a correctional fashion yet?
Only for walking, never for this sort of aggressive behavior, because I just like I don't know exactly how to use it in that circumstance, only for walking, so that's why I've gone away from it.
Okay, so prong collar is perfectly safe to use. What makes it effective when used correctly is that dogs bite each other, right? That's how they correct.
Okay.
And what you just explained to me makes complete sense. Essentially, she's lost trust because of the incident.
Right.
And it's like, well, let me put out threat before the threat gets me.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what we think's happening.
So even though we understand where she's coming from, it doesn't make the behavior acceptable.
Right.
Okay? So you can correct that.
Okay.
So the way I would go about it is actually teaching her how to heel. Not because of the heel, but the discipline behind it. You got it. Keep going. You got it. Tap, tap, tap. You got it. So that the theory is, if I have a really good heel on the dog, it overrides the discomfort of the other dog.
Okay.
Because she's more worried about the handler than she is about the dog that's passing.
Yeah.
If we still see reactivity, not a big deal. It just means we have to change the approach. I like to just step aside, and we put the dog in a sitting position, but it's not a sit. I call it a relaxed state.
Yeah.
And as soon as I see any sign of tension from her, hackles, the tail moving in like a certain way, her ears perking up, right? Those are all precursors to I'm gonna blow up.
Okay.
I correct right there, ideally.
Okay.
Right, and I correct by doing a very quick, sharp pop with the prong to bite her.
Okay.
And that's supposed to tell her, I disagree with what you're doing right now, or what you're thinking about doing, right?
Okay.
Let's say she still blows up, and maybe she blows up in response to your correction. Then people go, oh, I made it worse.
Okay.
I'm like, yes and no. The dog was already thinking about it. You did your correction, which unblocked the thought.
Yeah.
But the dog was already thinking about it, right? So then I keep correcting until the dog cuts it out.
Okay.
So then the dog goes, oh, that correction didn't mean blow up. It meant cut it out. But you have to ride it through.
Okay.
You know, people tend, when they see things get worse, they tend to stop.
Okay.
Right? I don't. Like earlier, when you saw me take, I don't know if you saw me take Maya, she started bucking around.
Yeah.
And then the owner was like, oh, is she okay? And then I just kept walking. And then a minute later, she was like this.
Right.
Right? Because I worked her through it. Same thing for anything that you do. If you seemingly have made something worse, it's because the dog hasn't understood the communication of, I need you to stop what you're doing. Okay? So, and you might find with the prong, though, and it really depends on the dog, is if she is too far gone and you're correcting, and you give very firm corrections, and it's not stopping, your intensity is not matching her intensity.
Okay, yeah.
You're going to be stuck, right? Which is why I do lead forward.
Okay.
That's my tool of choice. Everybody treats it as the end result, like, oh my God, I think your dog might need power, you know what I mean? Kind of conversation. And it's the first thing I jump to always. Because it's the best tool. It gets you off leash control. It's correcting your dog at the press of a button, and we're very button oriented nowadays.
Yeah.
It doesn't require a lot of technical skill.
Right.
You know? Because part of the problem here is also when I saw you walking with this harness, this promotes pulling, which promotes agitation and reactivity. Okay? So you're feeding the problem there.
Okay.
And you might
because she's able to do things that, like, so can you help me understand that a little?
So dogs have this thing called opposition reflex. Is when they feel pressure, they go against it. Okay? So when you pull back on the harness, she's thinking pull forward, which creates frustration. So like in protection dog training, that's exactly what we do. We put a dog on a harness, we have someone in front of them kind of pissing off the dog, and we're pulling back on the dog to create agitation. Okay, so that's what you're doing here, is when you're pulling back on that harness, you may feel you have more control, but really you're making her more agitated. You're pissing her off more.
Oh, okay. Because she wants to go, she sort of can and sort of can't kind of thing.
Correct, right? So it's kind of like a person, like in fights where they pull them back and they kind of intensify.
Okay, yeah.
It's the exact same thing. Okay?
Got it.
So the gentle leader is better in the sense that you don't get that tension on the chest, because that's the worst part, to put the tension. Plus, with the way she's built, her center of gravity is much lower than yours, and she's able to put her front paws and pull forward and put her chest behind it, which gives her the most control or the most power. I think that's a front clip harness, right?
This one?
Yeah, the front clip. So the front clip, all that does is deter the pulling pressure to the side, but you still get the agitation of the pressure on the chest. So every time I come, and I actually just did a consultation with the lady, and I told her people make their puppies aggressive over time because of harnesses, because they see a dog, they pull them back because they want them to annoy the dog, and they do that over the course of a year or so. Next thing you know, the dog's aggressive because there's agitation every time they see a dog. And then she goes, that's exactly what happened with my dog. It's the most common thing that I get. So,
can I ask you a slightly different question, like tactically? So you mentioned like bringing the dog to the side, which to me would be like an element of de-escalation. How do you think about like the on-leash reactivity related to like the dog's inability to escape? And would you think about like maybe doing something like walking, like teaching the dog to walk away, or teaching the dog to get
harder.
safe? That's harder. That's harder.
Yeah. It's harder for you.
Harder for me as a trainer to know like when and how to do that.
So something aside is easier because you're able to read your dog better because they're not moving. Right? You can see the entire body. So if you're trying to move, you're trying to avoid the dog, it's too much. So like I can, but I've been doing this 10 years. Okay? So I said to myself, you can make it harder because you've said there's no escape. That's the reality of life. Is you're going to be in a corner one day, there's a dog. Right?
Or be in a stretch like this.
Right.
And you just didn't see the dog coming.
So when you step aside, you're starting to proactively confront it, and now you're building your skill set, right? In a very controlled setting, in the sense of on the side, I have my how do you worry are they going to cross? No?
Right. So just so I'm like clear on the game plan, like so if we had a German Shepherd coming up here, the first thing you would try to do is go to the side and put IV instead.
Correct, right? So like what I do is do this and step aside. If I need to, I push down. I have my prong, and we're like this, right? This is short to limit range of motion.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching her, and I'm watching this to my peripherals, okay? And if you see that person going like, oh, you stepped aside for my dog to greet your dog.
Right.
You tell them go away, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like we're training.
Right.
You know, if you don't want to be a jerk. But at that point, like you do have to speak up sometimes, right?
Sure.
But if the person is just walking by, having your leash short gives you that immediate control.
Okay.
People tend to do this. So then you're like this.
Sure.
But if I'm over here, like I'm relaxed. I'm relaxed, but I have immediate
Usually runs after the
communication. It's a very subtle motion, you know?
So when it comes to, so if she's in a sit, we've got a dog approaching. Now if she acts reactive, like if her ears go up, you're saying, or if her tail moves a certain way, then you're going to give her a pop on the pinch collar. And that's to say, hey, that reaction you just had, we don't want that reaction. And you want to provide an element of negative reinforcement for that behavior.
Correct. Right? And I don't say words. I just correct.
Okay.
Personally, because people tend to rely on words more than they rely on their tools.
Sure.
Because we're verbal, right? Or they feel bad. They don't want to correct the dog.
And she doesn't speak English, as it turns out.
Exactly. And you're a very smart person to have realized that, because you'd be surprised how many times I've seen people talking to their dogs and scolding them like they're a toddler.
I say a lot of nonsense too. I tell her to be quiet. She definitely doesn't understand that.
Now you can empower the word "be quiet" through negative reinforcement. Okay, so it's "be quiet" correction, but now "be quiet" is tied to correction.
Okay.
So that she doesn't know what "be quiet" means, but she starts to tie it together. Of I was barking, you said this word or these words, I got popped on the collar, and then nothing happened after that.
Right.
Oh, that must mean I shouldn't bark. You know, and obviously she doesn't think in those exact words.
Sure.
Her brain is very simple. It's, I did something, there was a negative. I don't want the negative.
Right.
What do I have to avoid?
Right.
Right? And you're welcome to come back, bring her on the prong.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
And because sometimes when people use prongs, it's actually the wrong fit.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if we've got the right fit.
She'd be on a 2.25
Okay.
Firm Springer.
We do have the firm Springer. We have that. Maybe the wrong size though. 2.25.
If it looks too big, clunky links, it's too big. It's the one below it. 2.25. They shouldn't be bigger than that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're real close one way or the other.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, you're
maybe
more than
not
welcome to come back, bring her with it.
Great. Okay.
And then I'll help you size it correctly and all that stuff.
Okay.
And it's really just how to use your tools, appropriately and correct. Because people put the collar on, and they think it's just supposed to like fix the dog. And I go, no, it works in conjunction with the human, and the human's communicating what I like and what I don't like. You know. And now she's been walking beside us.
Oh yeah.
And there's been no tension here, right?
Right.
And it's just because I put a couple of rules. This isn't obedience. This is what I call good dog handling skills.
Right.
Where I just come into the picture, and the dog was pulling or reactive. I did do a couple of things, so next thing you know, here they are.
Right. She spent 30 seconds not really liking it. I kind of got over it.
Yeah. Because people feel bad about those 30 seconds, and I'm like, it's a dog. They bite each other.
She doesn't feel bad about the 30 seconds.
Exactly. She's gone. She's actually enjoying herself.
Yeah.
Her tail's wagging.
Oh,
She's nice and relaxed. Mouth open. So here, let's say I don't like how far she's going. I just give a little communication. Right? But I've been using this tool for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I'm really adept at using it. Prong collar gives you a bit more leeway to make mistakes.
Right.
And I'd say less nuances to get what you're looking for. So by all means, please feel free to come back.
Yeah, we'll bring it out. Hopefully next week. Oh, this is great. A lot of
Yeah,
bringing
at
these to the community.
The statue. Yeah, no, we
Walks are a lot of